Hey everyone, welcome back to the Avalanche Journal Studios. We continue our look at the Big 12 South Conference right here on the Red Raider Report. The final two teams to preview, the Texas A&M Aggies and the Texas Tech Red Raiders. For Texas A&M, oh how the mighty have fallen. A few years ago, if you would have said A&M would be at the bottom rung of the Big 12 South, people may have laughed at you. But that's precisely what has happened in College Station. Second-year coach Mike Sherman is going to be leaned on heavily this year to show vast improvement in this team that last year at times was simply unacceptable by A&M standards. Start with the key for Texas A&M starts with Jared Johnson. The quarterback, a wealth of talent, can hurt you with his feet, can hurt you with his arm. He has to succeed this season for A&M to be successful, and here's why. The offensive key. Johnson's success at quarterback would allow Ryan Tannehill, a true threat at wide receiver, to stay at that position. Should Johnson falter at the quarterback, they will be forced to move Tannehill to that spot, taking away one of their best possession receivers. So for A&M, very simple. Gerard Johnson needs to have a solid year and let Tannehill stay at his natural position at wide receiver and give them a good offensive battery. The reason for that is because they have another good receiver. Jeff Fuller had a nice season last year. With Tannehill and Fuller, that's a very good receiving unit. Running back-wise, they got Cyrus Gray back, and they're also going to have a newcomer that we'll talk about here in a second. Defensively for A&M, Von Miller, he's the standout, maybe one of the true, what you would call wrecking crew type mentality defenders that A&M has left. He's a hybrid defender, going to rotate between both lines. Outside of Miller, the Aggies are going to be very hopeful that some JC transfers and even some true freshmen step up to help them. Here's a key number. Only 6 seniors listed on the Aggies' defensive depth chart. That is not a lot of experience, and if there's one area you do not want to be weak in the Big 12 Conference, it's right there. And that's the number one reason that I think a lot of the media and a lot of other people have picked A&M dead last in the Big 12 South Conference. They're going to need some people to surprise them and step up to really give them a chance to do anything other than maybe a 3 to 5 win season. But offensively, here's a big bright spot. Recruiting win for A&M. Newcomer, Christian Michael, running back. As good as Cyrus Gray is as the starter, he could lose his job quickly to this incoming freshman. One of the top running backs in the high school ranks last season, going to make an immediate impact and should give A&M a really good bright spot on their offense. If you end up with a combination of Gerard Johnson doing well at quarterback, Tannehill and Fuller at wide receiver, and a good two-back combo between Gray and Michael, that's a foundation that they can build upon. They're going to need help defensively, and I don't necessarily know if they're going to have that this season. The schedule, good news. Home for the first 5 games gives them a chance to get off to a good start. New Mexico, Utah State, Alabama, Birmingham, Arkansas, not necessarily a hardcore home game in Dallas, but still should be a decent fan advantage for A&M. Then the Big 12 schedule starts. That's not a real fun first 3 game start. Oklahoma State at home, at Kansas State, at Texas Tech. Then you look at road games to finish out the season, Colorado and Oklahoma. There's games they can win there. But ultimately, I think the talent level has rose that much this year throughout the conference, especially in the South, could be an extremely long season for Texas A&M and head coach Mike Sherman. Right now, we're going to turn our attention to the Texas Tech Red Raiders. We're going to take a very brief look at them because we're going to be back later on with a full in-depth preview of every unit for the Texas Tech team, offensive, defensive, and special, and their schedule breakdown. But real quick, let's hit on the key points just like we did with the other Big 12 teams. Start off offensively, here's the key. Before you all start suffering from Michael Crabtree and Graham Harrell separation anxiety, I'm going to tell you something. There is a lot of talent on this football team, and you should be very excited about your starting quarterback. Taylor Potts, a highly coveted recruit. He's been in the system for a number of years, studied under some good quarterbacks. Mike Leach seems to have a lot of confidence in him. This is a bigger quarterback than Tech fans are going to be used to. A stronger arm. Here's respect for you. Already added to a watch list for a quarterback postseason award. Has not taken a snap as a starter. That tells you something about people's expectations of Taylor Potts. Offensively, their wide receivers, despite Crabtree's departure, very deep. Names you already know: Detron Lewis, Lau Liang, Tremaine Swindle, Edward Britton. There's a new one, Alex Torres, transfer from the Air Force Academy, had a good spring session. There's a lot of depth here. In a way, they could be better than last year. Yes, they don't have Crabtree, but from a whole unit top to bottom, extremely talented. Another thing to be excited about, the running backs. Tech is absolutely loaded here. Baron Batch, you know about, already on several preseason watch lists for running back of the year honors. Aaron Crawford is back, and then I'm going to go ahead and skip down here to the newcomer, Harrison Jeffers. That is someone, if you're at the spring game, you better be extremely excited about. The Oklahoma product, small but extremely fast, difficult to get your hands on. I think this kid's going to provide a lot of excitement for Texas Tech this season. Real quickly, defensively for Texas Tech, Jamar Wall, the senior leadership, he is the returning leader of this defense. A strong point. All three linebackers are going to return for Texas Tech. That's a lot of stability when you talk about Ruffin McNeil's defense. He puts a lot of emphasis on the performance of his linebackers. They're going to need a strong start from their defensive ends, Rajon Henley, Brandon Sharp. They also have some depth there. They got some serious talent up front that we'll talk about later on in the coming weeks with Chris Perry, Whitlock, some serious returning talent there. Defensively, Texas Tech could be strong again. Newcomers for Texas Tech, we talked about Harrison Jeffers. Alex Torres, we touched briefly on the Air Force transfer. Tech fans are going to know him by the second or third game of this year. Has done a really nice job through spring drills as they go into the fall practice. Schedule for Texas Tech real quickly. North Dakota and Rice start the year at home. At Texas, at Houston, that's the crucial two-game stretch. We'll talk more about that when we get into their season preview. New Mexico, Kansas State at home. At Nebraska against everyone's right now seemingly consensus Big 12 North favorite. A&M at home, KU at home. You get the other strong team from the North on your home field at Jones AT&T Stadium, the tough one. At Oklahoma State against a much improved Oklahoma State team this year. Then Oklahoma at home, where they've won their last two games, and they finished the year against an exciting game, Baylor Bears in Arlington and Jerry Jones' new stadium. That's going to wrap up our look at Texas A&M and our brief look at Texas Tech. We're going to be back with a more in-depth look at Texas Tech, obviously, over the coming days. That concludes our preview of both the South and North divisions of the Big 12 Conference. For the Red Raider Report, I'm Zach Long.